Hi, welcome to Coffee Conversations. My name is Jen Lobonc Billhartz with Shock City School of Music. This is episode 6. We have a guest today, Larry Johnson. Not only is he a professional musician, but he is also a music educator. And so I am very excited to welcome him on and find out a lot of positive things about what he's been doing during quarantine before, and also maybe what some of his plans are moving forward. So welcome on, Larry.
All right,
Hi,
great. Hi,
how's it
Jen. How are
going?
you? Great. Good to see you. And thanks for
You
having me
too.
on.
What do
I
you have
really
there in your
appreciate it.
hand?
Oh, well, I have my instrument because,
Yeah.
I was practicing because that's what we have to do right now as musicians.
Yes. Yes. So,
And
so you've got a saxophone. Is that an alto?
this is a tenor,
Oh, that's a
and
tenor. Okay.
love to play saxophone. Any of them really, but tenor's my favorite. Been playing that since I was 12 years old, so kind of used to it by
Oh,
now.
wow. That's a long time.
It's a long time, yeah, longer than you've been alive, I'm afraid.
I don't know.
Oh, much more like it. But yeah, so that's kind of like, the theme for us musicians right now is, just practicing and trying to make the most of the time that we have. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of really great music when this all, breaks open.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been spending more time practicing, rehearsing, recording,
Hmm.
writing, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
amazing. Yeah, I'm seeing
it's
a
a
lot
good
of
way to
really great
spend
stuff.
your extra time.
It is. It is a good way. Something productive. Feel like you're still moving forward in, some direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So tenor sax is your favorite. Is that what you normally play when you perform?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, almost exclusively.
Okay.
Um, I mean, obviously, I can play all the other saxophones, but I just really like to have this voice, and I consider it to be the voice that I've spent the most time working on and developing. So
Okay.
I'm kind of partial to that.
Oh, well, good. I didn't know that about you. So that's pretty interesting. So would you say that most sax players kind of take the same direction, like where they prefer one voicing over another, or is that just exclusive to you?
Well, I don't know that it's really exclusive to me, but I think that um, well, I guess it just depends on the individual, their talent and their time. For instance, I have several friends of mine, local saxophonists that play wonderfully on all the saxophones, and I'm just very envious that they can sound so good on every one of them.
Sure.
I just choose to focus on tenor because I feel like I have only so much time to practice being a music educator. So I want to make sure that I'm going to sound proficient on at least one of them.
Awesome. So, because I've never played saxophone before, so the whole thing, I love sax. It's probably one of my favorite instruments, especially when it comes to jazz music. I just love hearing that. Um, it's always like a really good addition, in my opinion. So, um, the more you come around, the happier I am.
Well, thank you.
So,
I appreciate
but
that.
no, I totally understand
Yeah.
your perspective on it. Like you're perfecting and really spending a lot of time on
Hmm.
that one instrument because they all are so different, as similar as they are. Um, yeah, no, that's really an interesting way to think about it. But
Well, I think about, a singer doesn't work on singing two voices, they work on their voice, and
right,
you think about some of the really great saxophonists that have recorded over the years. And, I think of John Coltrane. Well, while he did do some things on alto and a lot on soprano, his first voice was really tenor. And you think of David Sanborn from St. Louis, and, you think of hearing his alto voice. So I think it's important to just kind of develop your own voice on whatever instrument you can. And if you're talented enough to develop a voice on more than one instrument, well then awesome. I just choose to
right.
do this one.
Okay. So, out of the different voicings for sax, which one do you think is most commonly used?
I think it depends on the period of time. Certainly early on, the soprano and the tenor were the most popular. You had Sidney Bechet and you had Lester Young, being some of the early forerunners. And then later on, of course, you had Charlie Parker. So people might have associated the sound of the saxophone exclusively with just Charlie Parker. Then, of course, later on, you had Sonny Stitz and John Coltrane. And of course, I'm leaving lots of people out. I'm just kind
Sure.
of skimming over. And then, in the 80s, you had David Sanborn. I mean, thinking of a sound. And today in music, I don't know that one particular saxophone is the voice of the saxophone anymore. I think because we have the internet and so many more people are out there playing, and you get to hear so much more. I think it's really sort of a broad spectrum now.
Okay. Well, cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've always been very fascinated with it, and I'm sure this is a common thing. But the neck, it looks like a goose, doesn't it? It's
Yeah,
like a
right,
goose.
exactly.
It's like a goose
Kind
head.
of does. Yeah, it kind of does look like that, and it makes it easy to get into your mouth. I think whoever
Sure.
does Adolph saxophone knew what he was doing.
So it's a reed instrument, right? I
Absolutely.
know that at least. So I know reeds are so tricky. Like, how many reeds do you think you've gone through in your lifetime?
Oh man, I couldn't even. I thousands.
Thousands.
Thousands of reads. When Jim Manley and I used to play in fantasy years ago, we played 25 nights a month,
Wow.
and I probably would go through 45 reads.
Oh my gosh. In one night?
No, 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 no. I'm
Oh,
over the course
over
of the
the
month.
course of the
Yeah,
month.
yeah.
Say
Over
that's
the
okay.
Yeah, my wife would look odd at me when the read bill came in. It was over $1,000 for
Oh
the
my
year.
goodness.
Yeah. So I mean, it just depends.
Yeah, that's a lot of maintenance and upkeep for an instrument, but
Well, really, it's just like anything else. You find something that sometimes it works and it doesn't.
mhm.
It's Mother Nature. It's wood.
Sure.
So yeah. So most of the saxophone players struggle with finding reeds and using reeds, and some people use synthetic reeds, and
Right.
there's a whole science to it. Unfortunately, I'm not that smart. I have to go with the science of I put it on. Does it play or doesn't it? If it doesn't play, I try
Sure.
it again later on. If it plays, I leave it on and play it. So
Yeah. You have
yeah.
to hope you don't have a crack or anything like that too.
Yeah, you have to have more than one ready to go, but
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, why don't we transition? So we talked a lot about the instrument, which I love talking about that. Learning about the sax is very interesting. Um, so you are a band director at
Mhm.
the middle school level, or is
Middle
it
school.
elementary and middle? At St. Joseph's Catholic School in Cottleville,
Mhm.
so private school. And so I'm sorry, you're saying which grade levels?
I actually teach 4th through 8th grade. So I start kids at 9 years old playing instruments. And then I also conduct as an adjunct member of the St. Dominic High School
Oh,
in St. O'Fallon. I do the jazz
okay.
ensemble there.
Oh, I
So
don't think I knew that. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
That's
I
really
have the
cool.
opportunity to teach kids from 9 to 18. So,
Wow.
and then a brief time I was also on the faculty at Lindenwood University, which was really awesome. Got a lot of great things going at Lindenwood. Nice
Yes.
put a plug in for them. So I had the opportunity to teach 9-year-olds to however old college students were at that time.
And when
So
when was that you were adjunct with Lindenwood?
it was several years ago. I don't remember the exact dates. I was there for about 6 years.
Okay. I finished my degree there. That was 2009, 2010.
Yeah,
I
no, it was
think was
certainly
about the
after that.
years
I,
after.
yeah, I think I was probably there from 14 to 20. No, probably 12 to 18. I think I've been
Okay.
absent for a
Well,
couple of years.
they've got a really awesome music program. I feel
They
like
do.
even since so when I went, I think the big music building had just been completed.
Hmm.
So that opened up a lot of opportunities for students, especially in performance, obviously. But since I've been there, it's been 10 years. I feel like so much more has come from it.
Absolutely.
There's now, music business, and I think I don't know if there's production and recording, but there's just so many more elements.
Absolutely.
Obviously I'm more on the music business side. I went in kind of music education, but did more of a music core, but got a splash of different things. But I would have loved to have some of those music business courses. And I'm so glad that they're offering that now. And I've had a couple of interns from their program, and
Hmm.
it's just
Awesome.
fantastic to be able to
Yeah.
explore, all these different sides of music. It's not all just about performing or educating. There's,
Right.
obviously
Well, I
multiple sides
actually
to it.
have
So
a degree in music business.
you do?
I do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
Where
got that from
from?
UMSL way back
Nice.
in, yeah, and we're talking about in the 80s. So
Wow.
I
Okay.
think actually University of Missouri may have been one of the first schools in the nation to pioneer that music business degree.
Now, is their music business degree part of the music department though, or is it part of the business department, or is it
Well,
kind of a blend?
yeah, in 1981, when I started down there, I started there in 79, but in 81, when they opened this up, it was a blend.
Okay.
It was actually managed through the School of Business.
Sure.
So it was really tough. You had to take all those accounting classes, and there was very little music business things to do at that time. I think my internship was I actually ran the jazz festival at UMSL,
Oh, fun.
where we brought in, people like Louis Belson, and I think we might have brought in Ed Shaughnessy and actually Dizzy Gillespie.
Oh,
I
wow.
got to actually trade fours on stage with Dizzy Gillespie,
Really?
and
I
there
think
was
that's
no,
who's on my wall behind me.
yeah, and there was no cell phones back then to take pictures or
Sure.
any of that, and it was amazing. And of course, I looked up at him and I said, Dizzy, what should I do? Well, give me some advice. He did. Just keep doing what you're doing. I think that was his way was of saying, "Nice try, kid. I like what you were
Well,
trying to
that's
do."
really cool. So if I need an assistant, I'm going to hire you.
There you go. Well,
You've
maybe
done
when
it
I
all.
retire. I've done a lot of things,
Wow,
and
that's really
being a
cool.
music educator in a Catholic school,
Hmm.
having a degree in music business has been very helpful because
Oh, I'm
most
sure.
Catholic schools are set up so that the band directors kind of come in there on a part-time basis and kind of manage their own programs from both the educational side and the business side.
Okay.
A good background in business can be helpful.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I think, I've spoken with other guests about that side of it, especially if you've got an independent musician or a solo musician. It's just, you're kind of out on your own and thrown into this whole big thing, and you kind of have to fend for yourself. And a lot of these people don't know what they're doing, and you have to just kind of learn from the ground up. Um,
Right? Yeah.
so yeah, it's unbelievable how much business is related to music in any capacity. Um,
As you're finding out, right? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, I run a business,
right. But I mean,
so
you
yes,
see how that all kind of
but yes,
weaves
with other
together.
performers as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So more about your job with these children, with being band director. Tell me more about that.
Okay.
Um, so you do starting
Through
at fourth
mhm,
grade. What
mhm.
are the primary instruments? I'm assuming you're kind of their first
I am.
exposure to these instruments.
I am, and I generally try to narrow it down. In the Catholic school, you have some different scheduling things that maybe my public school counterparts don't have. They get to see their kids on a daily basis, where I get to see them less frequent. So I start the kids on clarinet, sax, trumpet, trombone, baritone, French horn, percussion, mallet percussion. So I try and kind of key in those 8 areas.
Okay,
Don't get the opportunity to do a whole lot with double reeds, oh, and flute, of course,
sure.
and saxophone. So, try and narrow it down as much as we can. And starting a child on a musical instrument is a really important thing. First and foremost, finding the instrument for the child. I used to, when I started as a band director many years ago. I've been doing this now. I will have completed my 33rd and going into my 34th year
That's
at
fantastic.
at St. Joseph's School.
Wow, good for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it's been a real blessing. Um, I think it's important to meet with the child and their parents, ask them what instruments they're interested in, and actually let them try it. And I do like a mouthpiece test with them. And if they're not getting the sound, if they say they want to play a flute and they can't make any sound out of the head joint, the first part of it, you're
Hmm.
like, well, let's try something else. Or if they want to, do the same thing with a trumpet and they buzz their lips and get nothing, you're like,
Sure.
let's try this. So I've discovered in all my years of teaching, there are two types of people: people that can have an instrument in their mouth, like a saxophone or a clarinet or an oboe, or those kinds of people, or people who need to play a mouthpiece outside of their mouth, like the flute or the trumpet or any brass instrument. So
Okay.
you kind of narrow it down. And then there are some people that really can't do either, but have rhythm and pitch. And they can play percussion and mallets
Hmm.
or guitar, though I don't teach guitar. They have a different set of skills, hand
Sure.
skills versus mouth
Yeah.
skills. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So, Just out of curiosity, and I don't know if we've had this conversation before. So you said that you teach introduction on clarinet and saxophone.
Mhm.
And when I went to school years and years ago, kind of the introduction to saxophone was clarinet. Like they would make you start on clarinet before you could even think about saxophone. Is that obviously you're not doing that? So can you speak a little bit on like that process?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's really the still the best way to do it, honestly. I don't do that just because of schedule concerns that I have. So if I have a child starting on clarinet that's going to switch to saxophone, I may not have the chance in their fifth grade year because I start them in fourth grade, or in the second half of the year in fourth grade, whenever I deem the time is to switch, to actually work with that child one on one and help them make that switch.
Okay.
So that's generally the difficulty for me. I'm by myself. I have all these students. I do have a little help. I do have an assistant that comes in to help with brass, and he can do some things too. But it's just a whole schedule conflict that I have to work out.
Okay.
That's why I do that. Now I do test children, and if their hands are too small to hold the saxophone, or they just physically aren't large enough to play it, then I in fact have them play clarinet. And
Is that
later on,
typically the issue? Because there's
yeah,
not different, I mean, other than the different voicings, it's not like they have smaller versions of saxophone, correct?
correct,
Okay.
right.
Well, then that
Well, I mean,
okay.
alto is smaller.
Well,
They
right,
start on
'cause
alto sax,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
but yeah, that's really it. And so if they can't get their
Okay.
fingers around the keys, they're not going to be able to play it.
Right.
And then
Okay.
I encourage them to stay on clarinet for a while, and then try and work out a time in the summer where I can switch them, but it doesn't always work.
Hmm.
So that's why if their initial interest is saxophone, I let them try if they're big enough. But I agree completely with the philosophy of clarinet first, then move on to
Okay.
saxophone. In fact, that's the way I started.
Awesome. Okay,
So
well, I'm glad to have some input on that.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know, I've got such small hands, I don't even know if I could fit my hands around the saxophone, but
you
I
probably could,
mean, I
but it
have
is
difficulty enough with guitar, but I've never tried. I did percussion in high school, and prior to that, I did, viola and choir. Those were kind of my
well, viola certainly and guitar. And that was my problem. I could never really master this. My uncle was a
so
very good
hard.
violinist, and I have his violin, and I never quite could get that. And it seems to like bother my hand. I
Yeah,
think if
no,
I could,
I've really struggled with guitar, and I didn't start learning until I was an adult, and I just almost wanted to give up. I was like, this is not, I can't get my hand to bend this way.
right, yeah, right, exactly. There's a true
Like
art
I'll,
to it.
I'll stick to piano. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's another thing that can be difficult for people too, of getting
Oh,
you know
absolutely. Yes.
the right thing there. But yeah, I've been fortunate enough to teach and work with children. Again, through nine to primarily by the middle school band director, primarily the high
Hmm.
school is adjunct, but to focus on that age group. And certainly this whole coronavirus and this whole school year has been very difficult for music. As a music educator, it's been
Right.
very
So
difficult.
what are you doing with that? Are you I know the school year is coming to a close anyways, but did you have to transition your band education to e-learning?
I did. I was sort of already set up for it. Before we kind of talk about that, I just want to say that music education for parents that might hear this or anyone that's listening, is really about the personal experience you have with the educator, whether it's in a private lesson or whether it's in an ensemble. Now, I do believe that people who are doing private lessons online are doing a really good job. So I promote that certainly. So if your child's taking a lesson via Zoom, I think that's fine. I mean, I have actually reached out and studied with some people during this time online, and I think that's okay. It's really when we get into large group setting, large
Sure.
ensembles, that the magic that happens in music doesn't happen in this environment. Now, having said that, what I did, I use a program called Smart Music. And Smart Music, you can find it if you want to look at it by going to smartmusic.com. Is essentially their method book, thousands of large ensemble pieces. There's vocal music, there's solo and ensemble things. There's a lot of material on this. And my kids, for I don't know, 15, 20 years maybe, have been using this program. So when they join band, they have their homework is essentially online. So
Okay.
the program allows them to, you know, log in, get their Mary Had a Little Lamb,
Hmm.
play the song, and then the computer gives them feedback. Well, you didn't play all these notes right, or you played them
Oh,
all
that's really
correctly.
cool.
Yeah, and then when
Okay.
they're satisfied with their performance, they send it to me. It's auto graded, and then I listen to it and often submit comments. So there's a loop of feedback. Of course, teaching children who are 9 to use that loop is a challenge, but that's what so
Sure.
transitioning for me wasn't that difficult. So for me, I continued to do these assignments on smart music, which my
Wow.
kids already knew about, and then just did some Zoom, classroom meetings with them and one-on-one, and some a cappella things with my 8th grade. So that was how I
Wow. Well, you're
transitioned.
you're really fortunate to not only for yourself but for your students to already be well familiar and comfortable with that online platform.
Yeah.
Because I know, for us especially, we have an online education platform, but we weren't utilizing it in its full capacity, and so there's a lot of um, hiccups in the beginning because we had to retrain ourselves of how the lesson
Hmm.
takes place. So
Right.
I think that's wonderful, and that's probably, I'm assuming, helping your band overall because you're having all of that. I, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Well, they're structured assignments.
Well, the structure,
Um,
and then you're actually knowing that they're playing and practicing
right.
because it's being recorded and documented versus like a sheet. Let's put an X on the days that I practice, and it's like, well, anyone can do that,
Right. Yeah. So
and then there's no way. Yeah, so that's
right. The
great.
kids have to do something, and I think the challenge for kids today, and I think probably in some ways maybe this has been good for them, although online learning and transitioning to online learning in all your subjects has been a challenge for a lot of children.
Sure,
Um,
absolutely.
it really has, and you being a mother, you know that teaching and educating children in any capacity can be a challenge. And for me, I would say that I tried to not put too much on their plate because I knew they were already struggling.
Right.
So, but practice time in general, yes, it's good to be able to document how
Hmm.
much they practice, but it's good. It's the same old thing. The kids that really are interested are going to practice. The kids that are
Yep.
marginally interested are going to do what they can and probably take, and the kids that are just sort of interested really aren't going to practice and rush through whatever you give them.
Yeah.
So, but I will tell you what online teaching, especially using smart music, has taught me the things that I'm not teaching well. It's been a real fact checker for me. It's like, well, gosh, I really didn't do this very well, and that very well. So those things have been real eye opening. So you can go back and reteach. Well, the kids didn't understand dotted quarter notes. Well, I got to go back and reteach it.
Yeah. No, that's really cool, and that that kind of that's a great explanation of it. Yeah.
They say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so I fall all the way to China, a homeless girl living on the streets. Help me, my bottle's getting empty, feeling like I'm losing the game of life. I need some help with my self-regulation. Aberration, it's not working out. Not working out. Not working out. Not working out. Yeah.
So do you have, how do you break up the different bands? Like how many different bands do you typically have during the school year?
Well, at St. Joseph's School, I actually have 5 ensembles. I have a 4th grade band,
Okay.
which meets once a week, and for class, mixed instruments always. Then I have a 5th grade band, which meets once a week, mixed instruments, and once after school. And I have a 6th grade band that meets once a week, and then they meet by homeroom, if you will. And
Hmm.
so, and then after school is an ensemble. And then the same thing for the 7th and 8th graders. I put them in the same group together. And as a matter of
Okay.
fact, that video clip that you have is primarily all 7th and 8th graders with a few really talented 6th graders sprinkled in the group. So my ensemble sizes range from 30 to 50 kids in fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, and anywhere between 65 and 70 in the 7th and 8th grade ensemble. And then I also have a jazz ensemble, which only meets once a week. So I have 5
Okay.
ensembles weekly.
Well, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, I mean, that sounds like a lot of, I don't know what the overall student population is for those grades, but that sounds like a substantial amount of students.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of assuming you're doing something right to
I hope so.
motivate these kids to think
Yeah,
band is really cool and to want to join
to
the
be a part of
band
it.
once they're of age. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I have about 200 kids in the program, and the school size is about 900.
Okay.
So I'm starting from fourth to 5th grade. So I probably have a little over 1/3, if not a little more than that, in the band program.
That's really neat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
I
great.
mean, you see music just going away in other schools, and that's awesome that you're able to provide such a wonderful ensemble experience for them. And you're not only doing that, like you're teaching them.
Yeah, it's really
You
great. I
know,
mean, I wish I had
that
more
is
time
really
with my students. We all do that. And
that's really nice.
Catholic
Yeah.
school education, that's probably the most difficult challenge is trying to, I call it speed teach,
Right.
because you don't see them every day,
Yeah.
and that's really hard to do that. But
Sure.
like anything, kids, if they have the desire to do something, it's pretty amazing.
Well, I think I applaud you on that, because without that I mean, they're seeing their peers play, and it turns into a really cool thing. So you're providing them with that motivation. So I applaud you on that.
Well, thanks.
Because that's really, that can be challenging.
Hmm.
So you had alluded to we've got a clip here I'm going to play on YouTube from 2016. So this was your 7th and 8th graders primarily,
Correct.
right?
Hmm.
And this was some kind of a music festival.
It is. This is our Catholic Music Festival held at Bishop de Burgh annually.
Okay.
And each group there takes a turn playing. So there are 5 bands set up on this gym floor,
Hmm.
and each group is taking a turn playing. And this is our turn to play, and we're playing a piece called Imaginarium, which was a very challenging piece by Randall Standridge. Very challenging. It's a very difficult piece. This is all my bands are really good. This is one of the most exceptional groups I've had the privilege to teach. And while it's not perfect, it's live music, folks, so it's it's not always perfect. The kids did a really nice job, and this piece is 7 minutes long. So for your listeners, they may want to go out if they're interested in hearing the whole thing. But play a
Yeah, so we'll play some of it, and then we'll stop and chat about it, and then
sure.
we'll post the whole thing so that everyone can see it. Because I thought this was really neat. These kids are clearly very talented, and so we'll start. Let me get all the way back to the beginning, because I really liked the beginning part, and it kind of like transitions throughout.
Yeah. There are basically three ideas.
Okay.
The whole piece is your quest through your imagination.
Oh,
So you're basically getting a musical expose of different moods of your imagination,
oh, I
and
like that.
then there's sort of a main theme which you'll hear, and then at the very end it reoccurs.
Okay.
So it goes from being real happy, and there's
Yes.
scary moments, and yeah, it's really we worked really hard on this.
All right. Well, here we go. we'll pause right there where it
Okay.
transitions.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, you must be really proud of these kids.
I am absolutely proud of them.
That was
Yeah.
That was
Now, I
incredible.
didn't actually get to hear the audio, so hopefully
Yeah,
your listeners.
I figured you couldn't because I've got it streaming through, but it was recording. But you're watching yourself go,
Yeah.
and
That's always entertaining. Very entertaining.
well, no, I've never seen you conduct before. So the first time I watched, I was like, wow, this is like really neat to see you in this whole other element.
Hmm.
And obviously I've seen you play live before, and we've spoken about this. I call it the Larry Johnson bounce.
Bounce, yeah.
Just because you've got the music just flowing through your whole body, and you can just see how passionate you are about the music.
Thank you.
And that same thing is happening when you're conducting.
Mm-hmm.
So you can it's just like pouring out of you and out of.
I have to tell you that
wonderful.
when I came up as a player, as when I was a young man, I guess I didn't realize how joyful teaching would be. That's why I got a degree in music management. And when I started teaching back in 1985, 86, for the Catholic schools, you needed to have a bachelor's degree to teach what they called a non-core subject at the time.
Okay.
So they hired me with a degree in music management and not certified, education major.
Right.
So I had no idea that would be so joyful for me. I had, I just wanted to play the saxophone. That's all I knew.
Right.
But I have come to really love it. And yeah, the expression of joy and fun to conduct an ensemble, especially one that plays as well as that one, it's just, there's no way to describe it. It's just awesome. So I think that's been the hardest part for many of my peers and myself during this coronavirus, is just being away from our kids. It's been horrible for us because spring is our time, like right now. If the coronavirus hadn't happened, I would be in Sandusky riding a roller coaster with my 8th grade band.
Really?
Students. Yes, because we would have been on a band trip. I take my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, choir and jazz band, on a band trip each year.
Wow.
And that's where I would be right now.
Okay.
We would be heading to an awards ceremony to see it's a competition, so we would see how we fare. And the beautiful thing about all that is my kids really they're not worried about first, second, or third place or getting a trophy. They're worried about, the character of it all for them. There's a whole faith component for us that we invoke in all this, but it's really super cool. So I know my peers are like me, they're like, this is just horrible. It's an empty pit. You can't make go away.
Yeah. And I'm sure spring concert, like, what did you guys wind up doing? Did you do anything or?
No, we couldn't do anything. I mean, I tried to do like an a cappella project with my 8th graders, which is, are you familiar with that app?
I've seen some others using it, but I've not personally.
It's really great. Basically, you have a starter, if you will, starter seed, and somebody records the song and they send it on to the next person. Well, it's really a lot harder than it looks.
It looks challenging. I would fail at putting that all together.
Yeah, the app is easy and the app is amazing. But you got to play with good time, and you don't get to back up and fix anything. It's all or nothing. So asking 14-year-olds to play their music perfectly from the beginning to the end can be very challenging, and
it's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, and so that's what I tried to do, and it didn't work out as successfully as I'd hoped. I thought about putting other videos together for them. And in fact, later on, when this all clears, the 8th grade and I will actually get together and go to a venue of some kind, eat a dinner and have an awards ceremony, and we'll put together a video.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm sure it's hardest on them because they've all been together for so
5 years.
long.
Yeah.
And, now they're all going, I'm sure, in 100 different directions.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been very challenging. So like that particular concert that you just heard, we would have taken that song into competition, if you will.
Okay.
So that's how that would work. But we don't really worry about that part of it.
Bummer on that.
Yeah, but
I've heard positive. I think I've been to Sandusky, Ohio. What's the name of the
Cedar Point?
That's right. I've got a hat I wear when I run sometimes from Cedar Point. I went like years and years, probably I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. So I'm sure it's all changed, but that would have been, I took a band trip in high school, and that was probably one of the most fun things. It's really, you bond with your
Hmm.
ensemble.
Yeah.
And we went down to Florida and played at, I think, the Gator Bowl,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know,
Probably.
something.
Yeah. I mean, it's
And,
amazing.
it was really cool. I remember we'd practice, we'd march around the parking lots and got to go to the beach and all that fun stuff. So I feel badly for your students
Me
to have
too.
missed that experience, but
Hmm.
hopefully it can be made up in some way.
Well, it'll never, it'll be lost forever for them, and
Yeah.
they understand that. There'll be a new light that shines when this is all over, and this generation
Yes.
of kids that have gone without, that would be our seniors and our eighth graders, will
Hmm.
have a completely different perspective on
Absolutely.
things that none of their peers will ever know. But I'll
Yeah.
be interested to see how they shape the world, having lived through this. And I think if we went back and looked at the people that went through the pandemic in 1918, it would be a good course in history for everyone to really kind of see that. But it really begins, so much at what you're doing at Shock City Music. I mean, how you're, educating students that want to take it to that next place, that want to learn, an instrument in a new way or a better way, or maybe they don't have, you know, the exposure in their school environment. And I think what you're doing through Shock City is just really awesome.
Well, thank you. I
I
appreciate
applaud
that.
you. Well, you're
Thanks.
welcome.
I mean, music
Yeah.
is so important to me. It's been a part of my life,
Hmm.
just forever. And I've always wanted to be a music educator, thought I would actually be in the public school system, wanted to get into choral conducting. Um, but took a, slight detour, and I love the business side of it. And I'm doing some teaching myself. I'm taking on some beginner piano students, which is more of a recent thing, but I'm finding that I really enjoy it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I can just see that my students really want to be there and they really want to learn.
Right. Yeah.
And that makes my job so much easier. And
Absolutely.
it's so rewarding. And so yeah, I just love it. I just love giving them something creative and educational and fulfilling. So
And that's it. That's why we do it, and
yeah,
that's what makes music people so special. There is that giving, and it's hard to do that through a screen. I mean,
yeah.
people are doing it, and they are being successful. I mean, I can't tell you. I had a little girl learning to play the flute, and she came late into the game, but she was just such an amazing child. I was able to find some time, and just a few summer Zoom sessions through her made a
Hmm.
big difference
Oh,
with her.
good.
So we can do it, but it's not quite the same.
It's not. I mean, I like that, I've been so very isolated. I've been taking all of this very seriously with the social
And me
distance.
as well.
I mean, like very seriously. Like, I've not gone anywhere. I'm not seeing anybody. Um, because I have to protect my family and want to protect everything as we move forward,
Right.
so that I can reopen the school and things like that.
Right.
Um, but anyways, I do enjoy the aspect of having that connection with the students. It's not
Yeah.
the same by any means, but it's still
Mhm.
something. And me as an adult, I have a different comprehension of things and a different maturity about things and different understanding of the world. And but children don't get that.
Mhm.
They don't have that, and maybe they're connecting with classmates, but school's going to be over and they're not connecting with their friends in the same way. So I'm at least grateful, because you don't know somebody's family situation.
No.
So I'm grateful to be able to provide that, and for our other teachers to provide that. um, it's not really an intimate thing, but it's something that they're sharing that they don't have with their other friends.
That's
They
right.
get to still connect with their teacher and share this experience.
Exactly.
So I feel really positive about that. And I'm hoping that, because you don't know how somebody is doing or feeling or thinking right now. And I just, it's not the most normal of situations for us to be conducting lessons online, but, at least we're
Staying
reaching
connected.
out and staying
Yeah.
connected.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I've even gone as far as to tell my teachers, hey, if the kid is not feeling the lesson that day, sing songs, play a game, play, an I found it game. Like, go on a scavenger hunt. Like, I don't care what it is. Make them laugh and smile. Engage with them, because then they're going to be ready to engage with their instrument and be more optimistic for their lesson next week. It's like, it's not about, did we learn the B flat scale today? It's like,
Right.
no, it's that sense of community that we're all missing so much. So
Right. You're absolutely right. And kids are going to, in one way or another, they're going to find a way through this. And I really sincerely, only the eighth graders and seniors of high school and college, of course, are really mostly high school, are going to be the ones that are going to have residue from this.
yeah.
The younger kids are going to be able to, they're very residual.
Yes.
They're very flexible. They're going to be able to get through this. It's not going to affect them in the same way. So resilient is the word, not residual. I was looking.
No,
for.
I understand what you meant.
Yeah,
Resistant. Yes.
Yeah. So
Resilient.
they're
I
very
said
resilient.
resistant.
Yeah,
they're very resistant sometimes too.
Yes, they are. But so they're going to be able to get through it. Okay. But those kids, as I mentioned, they'll be the ones that said, "Well, I missed out on these important things." So I think going forward, reaching out to those kids now is really important. But really, all the kids. But
Sure.
lessons are going to be a great thing for them to do. I keep telling my kids, and now I really have a great example of how music is a life skill. I'm not the greatest saxophone player on the planet, but I love to play the instrument. Why? Because it's something that makes me feel better.
Yes.
I'm teaching my sister recorder during this time.
Okay.
And it's been very interesting. She's 9 years old than I am, and it's been pretty funny. But and we're using smart music too.
Yeah.
But she said to me the other day, she said, I practiced the recorder, and I noticed that when I got done, I kind of felt like I was in a better mood.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, bingo.
Yep.
That's what it's about. It changes our brain. It does something. So
yeah. No, I mean, not only playing. I mean, some people just don't have that musical talent that's natural, or just don't have the desire to play, but just listening to music.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to explain that to you. You already know all that, but music's the foundation for everything. There's, even through everything we're going through, it's been music that is, at the forefront of it.
Right.
Whether it's these benefit concerts or, people putting together videos. You can't have a video without music.
Right.
It's essential. So.
Right. Well, and people are maybe going to discover that, the hope in all this is that, art
feeling.
doesn't get lost
Yeah.
in this,
Mm-hmm.
in education, because, we don't know what I truly believe, I think that this is going to be not as big of an issue in the fall as we're making it. That's how I believe. I think we'll find out here in St. Charles, where I live. This community's been pretty open for a while, and CNN just did a case where they were saying there were actually less a drop in the coronavirus. Now, I don't take much validity in that. 2 weeks from now, we'll see if there's an increase. We'll know if there was a spike. Then, but if it continues to go downward, we may have already had it and didn't know it.
Right. Now, do you have concerns with having ensembles, and especially with, woodwinds and brass instruments, things like that, where people have to, do different breathing and all that stuff?
I do have some concerns. Again, based on what happens in the next few weeks, my level of concern may go up or down. Watching what's happened out here in St. Charles, but yeah, I mean, you're going to have to probably, at the very least, you've got to be cautious, because you don't know. And so there will be, social distancing in the classroom for sure. Okay. And how that will affect my teaching and what we do and how we teach and so on is yet to be seen. I can imagine I'll have more classes of smaller sizes.
Okay.
That will come into my classroom. They'll all have a mask on. They'll be able to remove their mask while they're playing, put their mask on when they're done. They'll be asked, to have a large, they have to wipe down, their lockers when they get done, and throw away their sanitary wipes when as they getting ready to exit my door. So there's maybe all kinds of protocol. How much of it will really be necessary will really be determined. If those listeners out there, just watch the data from this area, because I really think this will be the telltale, because I'm telling you, people are not necessarily practicing social distancing out here.
Okay. Well, and St. Charles has been open for 2 weeks now.
Exactly. Since the 8th.
And plus, you guys were kind of the last to close within this area of St.
Right.
Louis. Yeah.
Right. And so I have been practicing social distancing. I have Crohn's disease, so I am very, very cognitive that I'm going to be
Sure.
60. I'm going to be 60. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So, yeah, it's a kind of a combination that, says you have to be cautious. But so it'll be interesting to see how
Sure.
that plays out, and we'll find out. But I hope that we get back to normalcy as soon as we can. And for us musicians, I feel for my friend who you just had on, Jim Manley,
Yes.
spending his whole life playing in front of an audience, as I have too, but not to the same degree as he.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard not to have that audience and get that feedback and the the camaraderie with your friends and audience, and it's tough.
It is for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, well, let's transition again.
Okay,
And so yeah, you play with Two Times True, is that correct?
I do.
You do? You still play with them quite well, not right now, but
quite a bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, Carol Beth True is like Jim Manley. Carol Beth True is one of the treasures we have here in St. Louis.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we need to have a treasures concert and get these, these
I'd
people
love
who,
that.
yeah, just they're treasures.
Well, you have experience with organizing festivals from your college days.
There you go. But I don't have time because I'm conducting 5 ensembles, 6 ensembles, and trying to practice. But truly that, there are a lot of these. I mean, Joe Mancuso did it, with Willie Aikens, and and those, we have Freddie Washington still around here, and Paul DeMarinis, just real icons, real treasures of our musical community. And there's so many more.
Yeah, it's just there's so many wonderful musicians here in St. Louis. I think we are so fortunate, and I think a lot of people don't really they don't know what they're listening to sometimes. Like, they'll just be out, because this one of the things I love about St. Louis is you can go to a casual restaurant, a nicer restaurant, anything in between, and just listen to music for free. And it is, I mean, sometimes it's just some guy that's self-taught playing the guitar and singing along, but you've got some actual quality stuff happening. And
walking in and hearing Dave Black play.
My gosh. Like,
right. I mean, how does it get any better than that?
I don't know. And I think people don't realize what they are experiencing.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, these people are so fantastic, yourself included. And so you do, I know you've got a couple of albums out as well. Is that right?
I do. Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay.
I do. I have, the first one is entitled Circles. And the reason I named it that is because when I was a child, one of the biggest musical influences in my life as a young kid was Billy Preston. And when I heard Will It Go Round in Circles, even though it didn't include the saxophone, I love that song. People would finally tell me to shut up and stop singing and playing and talk. I just love Billy Preston. I just was.
So that was very influential to you.
Yeah. And so that song, so when I got the opportunity to record it, make a CD, that was one of the songs I included.
Oh, neat.
And of course, the other reason is because whenever I drive anywhere, I just drive around in a circle. If I don't have my wife to navigate, I'm lost.
You're lost.
You put me out on a boat and tell me to go here or there, you'll never see me again. So that was my first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's funny.
And the second one is called I'm Just Saying. It's a collection of, jazz things and some commercial things and a couple of originals. And I'm Just Saying is an original. I actually wrote it after hearing the Funky Butt Brass Band at the Webster Jazz Festival. Yeah, Ron Sykes is an amazing man, and the whole group. And I heard it, and I just thought, that whole thing. So I kind of wrote something out like that, and then recorded it, and that became the title track for that CD.
Nice.
So I have 2 of them. You can find them on Amazon, obviously, and Apple Tune, iMusic or Apple Tunes, or Apple Music. You can find both of them on there, and it will play on Spotify and everything. It'll play on every digital streaming source except Pandora.
Ah, all right.
Just can't seem to get into Pandora, but
Pandora is so hard to get approved for musicians. They are, I don't know, they're very strict. So,
and that's okay.
I've heard that from others as well, and that's okay. There's so many other, streaming opportunities. So
right, yeah, and pretty much now, you're a musician, you're going to be streaming. And it's a good and it's bad, larger exposure, but you don't make much money on live streaming. So People don't really buy CDs anymore. You know, they may download a song or
I
two if
do.
they want to.
I've not downloaded anything ever in my life. I'm very old fashioned.
Well, I will
That's
download
me.
someone's CD.
I've
You
not
know,
see I've not, unless that was the only way I could have access to it.
right?
Then I guess I would do that, but I haven't experienced that yet.
Yeah, I
But
try and buy CDs when I can too.
yeah,
I
I think
just
it's
I
more
like.
val. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess the musician, they're paying for their materials and the production of the physical CD. But I don't know. I just prefer that. I just like
Right.
holding something and,
Yeah.
seeing it. Obviously they're still, they're making the same amount, whether it's digital or CD, but, if I can support them in any way, I'm happy to.
Right. Well, I mean, and I feel the same way. I guess I probably started going more to downloading things because it was the access point. I could have it immediately and
Right.
enjoy it immediately. But I am like you. I sometimes I do both. Sometimes I buy the CD and download it.
Yeah, I like it when the CD comes with the download.
Yeah,
Then I
me
think
too.
then I like better. I like the physical thing, just like I've got a lot of books. I'd rather have the actual thing in front of
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But I mean, I don't even have a CD port in my computer. I've got to have an external if I want to upload it. But I still have a CD player in my car,
Right. Yeah.
and
Right.
so why not?
Yeah. I'm with you. Until, of course, now the new cars don't have CD players.
Well,
So
I've got a new car and it does, and it's really cool. I can put the CD in, and then it will write the CD onto, I guess, the hard drive of the car. So then it's permanently on
oh,
the car. I don't know. I'm
well,
not
that's
much.
super
Yeah,
cool.
I
I
don't know how
didn't.
that works, but it does.
Wow. Well, that's really awesome. Yeah. Well,
So
you
it's
got to.
almost like uploading it itself
Hmm.
or downloading it, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
it's really neat.
that's really great. Yeah, my car doesn't do that. So I've got a newer car, two newer cars,
Do you
but
have a
it doesn't
tape
do
deck in
that.
your car? No tape deck.
No, no tape deck. Yeah, no tape deck. Yeah, no. That's unfortunate. I have a lot of really great stuff on cassette tapes too. I
Yeah.
have like a drawer full of cassette tapes and 5 rows of CDs and two record crates full of albums. And
Albums, yeah.
yeah, and
It's
my
just
my daughter who's 26, has taken half of my albums. So super cool to know your daughter's at
Oh,
home
that is
listening to
awesome.
John Coltrane,
Yeah.
on an album.
So what's your typical go-to genre for music if you're just going to be listening
It's
as a
always
music
jazz.
consumer? Always jazz?
Always jazz. I mean, I played a lot of commercial music in my life and listened to a lot of commercial music. And, I had a 30-year career playing commercial music and I love it. And I love it. I love all kinds of music. So I'm not a musical snob at all. But I just, and I listen to a lot of different music when I'm presenting to children. So I have a whole different genre from jazz to classical to contemporary concert band music to
Right.
traditional. So there's so much in Christmas music.
Mhm.
But when I listen for me, I like to listen to learn. And
Okay.
so I listen to a lot of, I'll certainly go back and listen to the masters, always to the masters of jazz, period. But I also like to listen to the new artists that are out there and what they're doing because it's pretty incredible. So although I play, certainly, I guess I would categorize my playing as being on more traditional side, I guess. But I like it all. One of my favorite new contemporary saxophone players, he's not new, he's been around for a little bit, is Bob Reynolds. And he's an amazing saxophone player that does different things.
Okay.
And Chad Leftowitz Brown is a younger guy that's, this guy is amazing. I tell people I want to play like him in my dreams,
Sure.
So there's a lot of really great players. So that's it. But I like all music. So I'm not opposed to anything. I like to listen to learn when I'm listening. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, cool. Huh. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, there's all sorts of reasons why I listen to music. A lot of people, I would say, default to, enjoyment, relaxation. But I think that's really neat that you're always wanting to learn and get something more to take from it. So
right, all the time, because
great.
there's so much when you study a piece of music and you listen to what someone's doing and you think about it and I really like that, and you try and work it into your own playing, and
Sure.
it's like reading a novel. So much more than just what's on one page.
No, I'm sure that really, I'm not a performer myself, so I'm just kind of making an assumption here. But my assumption, based off what you're saying, is it probably really helps your playing skills.
Yes. the goal
Mhm.
is, and my goal as a musician, as musicians go, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle of all of it, because it just you kind of assess your own, and I'm fine with that. You assess your own skills, right? Right. I mean, we all do. We all know what we're gonna. I'm not gonna go out there and run a marathon. I might run down the block. That's just my skill level.
Chase the
Okay.
dog.
I might chase the dog, right?
Right.
So you kind of get comfortable with that. But you have personal goals. Like my goal is that when you hear me today, I'm going to sound, hopefully good. And then when you hear me 6 months from now, I still want to sound good, but I don't want to sound exactly the same. I want you to be able to come out and say, I noticed some different things about what you're doing. So every time someone hears me, or at least over a period of time, there's something new to what I'm
Okay.
doing,
Neat.
whether it's some new vocabulary, a new song, something. And that's the only way to do that is to just to listen and learn.
No, I think that's really wonderful. I think it's, really inspirational to know that there's always room to improve on a personal and professional level. I think that's incredible.
Yeah. And I learned that from Carol Beth True.
Oh. Well, speaking back to that, so we had spoken a little bit that you play with Two Times True. Do you guys have any shows on the horizon?
Well, I mean, it's going to be hard to say with everything that's happening. I know we'll be on the Webster faculty series in the fall for sure.
Okay.
We play regularly at a place called Parkside Grill,
Right.
Usually the last Friday or Saturday of the month. And then we,
But no word of that resuming.
not as yet. So,
Okay.
but yeah, we play regularly several times a month.
Mhm.
And then I play, and other things that I do, I play with guitarist Randy Bear, who's an
He's
amazing
great.
guitarist. Yeah, you've heard
He's
Randy with
fantastic.
Jim. Yeah, geez, amazing guitar player. I play with a place called Rendezvous Cafe with him.
And that's
once a
out in
month.
O'Fallon?
Fallon,
Okay.
off Highway K. Again, that hasn't resumed yet. Hopefully it will.
Sure.
And then I've had the recent good fortune to play with trumpeter who actually vibist now and vocalist Joe Bosey,
Okay.
who was a jazz icon for many years. Doesn't play too much trumpet anymore, but he still plays, and his band is always really good. Features another one of my favorite musicians, Bob Rao.
Okay.
On organ and or key bass and piano.
Lovely.
So those are just some of the people that, and then whoever else I get the good fortune to kind of play with from time to time.
I mean, it's also fun seeing you sit in sometimes.
Yeah, right.
And you're part of the Manly Christmas show every year, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's always fun. Jim has kept that going for a while, and of course I have a 3-4 decade history with Jim Manley.
Yeah.
So I was just looking at a picture of him this morning when he was like 17 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe he was 18, maybe he was 19. I don't know. It was in a 1974 when we both played in a high school group. It was a summer works project in the city.
Oh, you were in the same group together?
We were in that group together in 1974.
Wow.
So the first time I played with him was in 1974.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize it went back so far.
Yeah, it actually did. Now we really weren't friends then, because I was just an 8th grade kid. The privilege of playing with all these high schoolers in this summer band thing that we did. Then we reconnected in 1982, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that was Fantasy, and we played together for decades.
Long history.
Long history.
Really neat.
Yeah. So that's good. It's good stuff.
Awesome.
It's good to have that.
Well, what are you going to play for us?
Okay, so I'm going to do. Hopefully, this is really working. And
it's still working.
Still working. I think.
Still turned on.
still turned on. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear the audio. Okay.
Yes.
I'm just going to play something very short because your listeners didn't, log in to hear a concert. But it's actually a tune called "Mo Better Blues."
Okay.
It's a real short 8-bar blues form, and I'm going to play the melody and then take one chorus and then melody out, and that's it. I just kind of threw this together really quickly because I thought it would just be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use a program called Band in the Box, and many musicians are familiar with that, of course. And it's kind of hokey, but it's the best we can. Let's see. Make sure you can hear my saxophone. Hear it okay?
We're good.
Okay. So. Okay. All right. So we're going to give this a go, everyone, and hopefully it'll sound okay. Here we go. And there you go.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, just something short and sweet. But
that was great. And you had some of your bounce going even from the chair.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I think it just naturally happens with you. So.
Oh, yeah, I don't even pay any attention to that. Hopefully that's just a little blues. Just something fun, People always like blues. So.
Yeah, no, that was nice. It's been a while since I've heard anyone play sax. So. I mean, we listen to jazz a lot here at home, but it's,
Yeah, it's a different experience live. And
yeah.
I don't know what it sounds like through all this, what we're doing here, but hopefully it sounds
okay. Hopefully we'll make you sound as good as you do sound, because you sound great.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. That's the one part of being a saxophone player that people have commented most in my life is that while I may not be playing all the greatest stuff, they always love my sound. And
you do have a very, I don't know if I am describing this properly, if you would agree with it, but I think it's warm and rich.
Yeah.
It's very lively and energetic, and that's what makes you unique. So I think your tone is good. I'm by no means an expert on this, but I think you've got great tone. And
thanks. Well, that's to bring this full circle. That's creating a voice.
Yeah.
You have your own voice.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful.
Great. Well, thanks for inviting me to this today,
thanks
Jen.
so much. I look forward to seeing you out in public again.
I look forward to being out in public again.
I'm sure. Yeah. I know you've got summer break coming up, so
I'm on summer break right now. I mean, the school ended for me Friday, and
oh wow, really? Okay.
Yeah. So we stopped a little sooner than most of the public schools, and so now I'm just waiting for direction on how to kind of wrap things up. And I actually usually teach summer band with my kids and do a parish picnic at our parish has a wonderful picnic, and I usually put together an adult concert band.
Really?
So if you ever want to play percussion,
I would actually really kind of love that.
I'll let you know. It's usually
I can't promise anything. I mean, I think my rhythm's okay. I can,
we're
read some charts, but
it's fun. It's just fun. No,
playing some. I don't know if timpani or really.
Yeah.
Or the marimba. I always thought the marimba was beautiful. Like if I had the space in my house for a marimba or the money to buy one.
They have smaller ones now that are very affordable.
Really?
You should check them out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at, I think Yamaha does, but what's the other company? I can't think of it, but you can find, they're small enough marimbas. They set on an X stand, about that wide, full bars. They're beautiful.
Interesting. I might look into that for the school. I mean, I don't have the space for it here at my house. I've got a gigantic kind of vintage antique upright piano. And that takes up half my dining room.
Oh, yeah. Right. Sure it does. Right. Yeah.
They're massive.
But they're really awesome. But yeah, we do this parish picnic, and I have about 60 adults.
Wow. Well, if that happens, do keep me informed.
I will.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Children out there, rides and games and food, and we do it on a Saturday afternoon, and we have two rehearsals that we do, and then we play. It's fun, and not everybody makes every rehearsal, but who knows if that's all going to happen or not. But I do that in the summer, and
good to know.
And then my children are supposed to play the national anthem at Busch Stadium on August the 16th.
Really?
Who knows if that's going to happen? It'll be like our 16th.
You mean your band children, not your... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you meant we talked about your daughter earlier.
Yeah, that's true. And I get that kind of mixed up sometimes.
That's okay.
But my students will be, are supposed to be there now, whether that will happen.
Oh, that is such a neat experience. So hopefully
it really is. It's great.
I hope that'll happen for them.
Yeah, me too. And if it doesn't, we'll do it next year. But it's always hard to do that. So.
For sure. Well, thank you for being here. And again, I look forward to seeing you out in public soon.
Thanks.
We'll raise a glass and
and
hopefully you'll enjoy some of your summer. So
yeah, I'm sure I will. And we'll be able to talk about all this behind us.
Absolutely. All right, Larry. Glad to see you're doing well.
You as well.
Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Good luck.
All right. Bye. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. That was Larry Johnson. He is a local educator. He works at St. Joseph's Catholic School in Cottleville. He teaches 4th through 8th grade, and he is also a professional performer here locally in the St. Louis County area and St. Louis area as well. So you can find him online. He's got a website presence, and we will post that in our comments here. Also, you can find his music online on Apple Thanks for joining us, and we will see you